All right, so let's talk about measles. The measles virus is also known as the rubeola virus. So, a little background, this is nothing new, even recently new. It actually was discovered back in the 9th century. It was believed to have spread as trade routes expanded, actually, and more international traveling came to be. So, it is passed through talking, coughing, sneezing, anything like that. It is respiratory. It enters through the nose and the mouth and the eyes. So the infection starts in the lungs. It's going to infest macrophages, which are supposed to be the body's line of defense in a way. It's supposed to protect the lungs, and this virus specifically targets that and kind of makes its way as a Trojan horse, sort of say, past everything. So pretty bad one here. There are 4 stages to this virus. So first you're going to start with incubation. This is actually when you are not seeing any symptoms at all. You're asymptomatic here, and this is going to last about 8 to 10 days. And after about 8 to 10 days or so, you're going to move into the second phase, which is when you start seeing symptoms. And these symptoms are going to be fever, malaise, and loss of appetite. So you're going to then get the 3 C's, which are cough, conjunctivitis, and coryza. Then you're going to get Koplik spots. Now, this is supposed to kind of look like grains of salt, so to say, in an inflamed throat. And then after you start seeing that, you should, within 48 hours, move on to the next phase. Also, Koplik spots aren't seen in any other type of disease or virus, so they are pretty specific to measles. So after 48 hours of that, you should move into the third phase, which is a rash, and this rash is supposed to go head to toe, but it is supposed to avoid and spare your palms as well as the soles of your feet. So once you get that, you are supposed to, once again, 48 hours, see improvement. Now, if you don't see improvement within that and move on to the final stage, which is recovery, you are going to have some complications and be in a more severe state of having measles. So the final stage, as I said, is just recovery, and recovery can last a couple weeks. It's not an immediate situation. You might have a cough going on for a couple weeks or something else like that. Now, let's talk a little bit about the science behind the measles. So the measles is part of the Paramyxoviridae family. It is made up of negative sense single-celled RNA. Now, this is packaged in nucleocapsids, which are surrounded by an envelope. Now, this envelope can vary in shapes and sizes. It's not always going to be the same. So within this envelope, there are 2 glycoproteins. Now, they are going to facilitate the viral replication. This is going to be in the host, is where it's going to replicate. So the first glycoprotein is a viral attachment protein. This is it attaching to the host cell. The second glycoprotein is a fusion protein. Now, the fusion protein is going to support the process of the host cell and the viral membrane fully attaching and fusing to the host cell together. Now, this allows the virus to enter said host cell.
So the societal impact of measles is greater in certain populations that don't have the necessary means to vaccinate and protect their citizens. It is more prevalent in underdeveloped countries. These non-immunized communities take the risk of exposing their early life to this disease. Some factors that can complicate a case of measles is poor nutrition, high risk of concurrent infection, and inadequate case management. Although there is a vaccine that can be effective when taken at the proper stage in life to reduce the effects of this disease on the human body. But unfortunately, not all countries have the access to this technology, and therefore it can become a great impact globally. The total number of cases of measles reported to HWO from 1980 is 2.9 million. Considering that in developing world alone, almost 100 million infants are born yearly, that less than 20% of them are immunized against measles, and that various studies indicate that almost all non-immunized children get measles. Less than 3 million cases of measles in 1980 is a gross underestimate. There was a decrease in the global number of reported cases of measles during 1979 to 80 period, due to primarily to the reduction in the number of cases in the African continent and to a lesser extent in Europe. It is premature to conclude that such a reported decline is real and that it reflects the beginning of a long-term trend. The contrast between the developed and the developing world is most marked in relation to the severity and outcome of measles. Case fatality rates of more than 20% have been reported from West Africa. It has been estimated that 900,000 deaths occur yearly in the developing world because of measles. But data available to HWO indicate that the global case fatality rate in the developing world approaches 2%, in contrast to 2 out of 10% cases in the US. And the actual mortality may be greater than 1.5 million deaths per year. In class, we have discussed how diseases involve the disruption of homeostasis of the human body. Anything that prevents positive or negative feedback systems from working correctly could lead to disease if the mechanisms of disruption become strong enough, which in this case, the measles does that. We have also discussed how glycoproteins function. They are proteins that have carbohydrate groups attached to the polypeptide chain. These glycoproteins found in the envelope surrounding the measles helps to replicate this disease. Glycoproteins are involved in nearly every process in cells. They have diverse functions such as in our immune system, protection of our body, communication between cells, and our reproductive systems. White blood cells roll along our blood vessels looking for potential invaders. Measles is caused by a virus. As discussed in class, a virus is non-living. Viruses are complicated assemblies of molecules including proteins, nucleic acids, lipids, and carbohydrates, but on their own they do nothing until they enter a living cell. Without cells, viruses cannot be able to multiply. Therefore, viruses are not living things.